What's up, guys? This is Ren from the Set Apart Podcast. Did you know you can interact with us and continue the conversation via our online forum? That's right. You can email us today at setapartpodcastteam@gmail.com. Hey, we like to party. What's up, Dee?
What up? What up? What up? What up?
We living it life here with another installment of the Set Apart Podcast, and it is mental health. We still talking about that mental health trip, and so we just gonna keep on that. I mean, we continuing from the anxiety episode that we talked about anxiety in length, and now we're just gonna go to what I would call the cousin. Us in the Black community, we got a lot of cousins, and so the cousin of anxiety is depression.
Yeah.
And so I do want to preface this, okay? I want to kind of give you something real quick. Dee or I am not trained professionals in the matter. Everything we talk about is from a either personal experience or the things that we are around in culture and family, friends, so on, etc. And so, if you would like to chime in to the discussion,
Absolutely.
please do so. If you are on YouTube, view it on YouTube. The comment section is below. If you are listening to it via Spotify or any type of other audio streaming service, you can hit our email and continue this conversation.
Absolutely.
At setapartpodcastteam@gmail.com. But I'm Ren, and this is Dee, and this is the Set Apart Podcast. Dee, say what's up to the people.
What's up to the people? We're happy to be back. This is in, I don't know if I should say celebration, but commemoration of Mental Health Awareness Month. And we just wanted to make sure that we don't let it go by without acknowledging that it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Mental health is a priority just as much as your physical health. And we try to maintain that, some of us better than others. But we should never, ever, ever neglect our mental health because without that, we would be lost out here acting crazy, as you can see. And I don't mean crazy to be derogatory. I mean loose, out, all over the place without stability. So we want to talk about it because it's important.
Right. That's good. And I want to start out with a working definition of what depression is, because a lot of people will try to lump anxiety with depression and say, oh, they're one and the same. No, I said that it's related, but it's a cousin of it. And so
they got the same grandma.
They got the same grandma. So here it goes. This is a working example or a literal definition of depression. It says depression, or other referred to as major depressive disorder, is a common and serious medical illness that negatively affects how you feel, the way you think, and the way that you act. Fortunately, it is also treatable. Depression causes feelings of sadness and or loss of interest in activities or things that you've once enjoyed. It can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems and can decrease your ability to function at work and at home. And so something that I want to put to, and we kind of talked about this in the anxiety episode, something I want to put to rest is that depression and anxiety, for that matter, it is something that is a literal thing. It's not just as much as a mood. It's not a mood change. It's not like, hey, I'm depressed, let's get ice cream. Oh, I'm so much happier. Mm-hmm. No, it's not that easy. It's really deeply rooted. And so I have an issue, and I was just talking to Dee about this off camera. I have an issue kind of with the word of illness. Mm-hmm. Just because I think that depression and anxiety at this point in time, I'm not saying that it can't be conquered. Everything can be conquered by the grace of God. But at this time of life, I know so many people, including myself, that it's not necessarily illness can be considered a thing that you can cure, or illness can be considered a thing that is just for a season and you're over it. But sometimes these things are woven in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
From the day that they have their first encounter with this thing to the end of their life, they have seasons in and out of depression. Now, they treat it, they find practical ways to address it. Sometimes are easier than others, sometimes are worse than others. But
Absolutely.
illness implies, in my mind, now granted, you guys can have different opinions about this. Illness implies that um, it's kind of a thing that you can get over with medication. And Didi, you said something to me about why you feel illness is labeled illness. Elaborate on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't like to label it as illness because illnesses are kind of layered, right? So if
Mm,
I have a cold, that same cold virus could affect you differently,
mhm,
right? So I can't just, if sometimes one medication doesn't fit all, sometimes me having a cold might shut me down for a week, but you might work through it. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying?
Yeah,
So I can't say like I'm more sick than you. It could be the same virus, but it could affect me differently. And
right.
we might get prescribed the same thing. You might go on with your life and I might be in the bed. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like depression is one of those things that um it has to be managed.
Yeah,
Um, they said in that working definition it can be treated. I think the severity can be treated, but I think individuals who've experienced it, it's almost like when you say another type of illness is in remission.
hmm.
So episodes happen, but you can manage it. And then you can get tools or learn tools on how you specifically um, can still live on and still have a productive life, knowing that you have a history of depression, but it no longer like takes over your life.
Yeah,
And illness just sounds like sickness. And I feel like we treat sick people differently. And
yeah,
depressed people aren't sick. They just need some tools. They need understanding of what it is that they're battling. Um, yeah, because it's just a different type of thing, and I think illness boxes it in.
yeah. It does box it in a little bit more. And just to keep working with this working definition, let me give you a little a further one to this depression definition. It says people who experience depression may experience these following things. Anxiety can be a part of it, apathy, general discontent, guilt,
Mm-hmm.
hopelessness, loss of interest, or pleasure, loss of pleasure in activities, mood swings, sadness. As far it can affect their sleep, waking up early, excessive sleepiness, insomnia, restless sleep. So you do get sleep, but you're not very restful. It can affect your entire body,
Mm-hmm.
excessive hunger, fatigue, loss of appetite, or again, restlessness. It can affect your behavior, agitation, you're irritable, excessive crying, or social isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to continue, it can affect you cognitively, lack of concentration, slowness in activity, and thoughts of suicide. It can affect your physical being in terms of weight, weight gain, or weight loss.
Yep.
Um, all of these things are things that can be working symptoms of depression. For me, depression was near and dear. I would say that I slipped into a state of depression at one point in time. It was hard. Of course, it was directly related to a season of my life,
Mm-hmm.
but did not know how to deal with it. Um, I really wanted to do two things. One, I wanted to fake the funk hard. Whatever I wanted to do, I wanted to stay on course as to what my life looked like because I wanted to be depressed indoors and didn't want to be depressed outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody around me could see it. I mean, when you're in that state and you're depressed, even if you're trying to fake the funk, you're not faking it as well as you think that you're
I was
faking.
just about to say that. It's only nobody believes the fake. People can
Nobody.
see it, people can smell it, people can tell when your smile ain't the way it normally is. Even when
Yeah.
you trying to joke, everybody like, but
Yeah.
what's really going on? Like,
Exactly.
yeah, nobody
And
believes the image, and you really think you doing it. You think you killing it. Like,
exactly.
I'm
Like
finna
that's
go. I'm finna walk in this gym, kill it. I'm finna walk in this church. I might even sing along, but I'm gonna be
yeah.
doing extra because I don't want nobody to see a chink in my armor. And everybody looking at
Exactly.
you like you look gray. Like your skin ain't even the same.
Exactly. I had a situation where it was 4 days of out of 4 days. Now keep in mind that's 96 hours. I think I'm mathing right. Out of 96 hours, possibility of 96 hours, I think I got 4 hours of sleep.
Wow.
Um, I think I ate one time. I dropped weight so much. And so um, when I went to church on a Sunday, an older lady, it was so funny because she was like, "Oh wow, you're really working out. You're getting thin. I see it toning up." I was like, "Lady, if you only knew, like if
Mm-hmm.
you only knew." Um, I mean, of course, like she sees me week to week, right? And she probably just thought that she's seen the results of something that was happening. I was like, "No,
Right.
you see me drop 18 to 20 pounds in 4 days. That's what you seen. And not in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Literally at that point, I didn't have a desire to eat, not one desire to eat. During that 96 hours, um, I was not hungry once. That one meal that I ate, which couldn't be considered as a meal, it was like just hey, so I don't die type thing. Um, it wasn't really a meal, and I was forcing myself to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it, but I mean, once again, you're still mindful that you need to eat to live, you need to
Mm-hmm.
drink to live. Um, but I didn't want to do that, and so keep in mind, this was the first time in my life that I've ever experienced anything like this,
Yeah.
and it was compounded with anxiety because as soon as I would try to sleep, it wasn't me not trying to like. Keep in mind, this was not me buying a PlayStation or an Xbox and staying up all night just doing the whole thing. No, this was literally when I laid down, I would probably fall asleep for 20 minutes and wake up in panic.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the panic subsided, I would just sit. Like I was like, dude, I don't even have a I'm tired physically and I can feel my body being tired, but I can't turn the lights off.
Mm-hmm.
Um I had anxiety in the day, depression at night. It was bad. It was really, really bad. And so at that point in time in my life, I kind of explained it in the last episode, but I realized not that this was my situation, but in that moment I realized it's not so much people. I think in terms of like it said depression could lead to thoughts of suicide.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much that people are so distraught that their life was so emo and down and they were already always troubled people
Mm-hmm.
from the day one that makes them think of suicide. um, Sometimes life can have a very, very, very quick turn of events, a traumatic turn of events, and you're just not ready for it. And it can take you into a degenerative cycle of anxiety, depression, and the fact that it can rush you all at once and you really not even know what's going on.
Yep.
Like I'm telling you this in hindsight.
Yeah.
In that time, could I have told you, Didi, if you asked me at that in the middle of those 96 hours, are you depressed? I'm no.
Mm-hmm.
You got anxiety? No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like I would fight you tooth and nail. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. You haven't slept in 4 days. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like I would fight you tooth and nail. In hindsight, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
that's what that was. I don't think I had the wherewithal to know. Now, some people are like that. Some people are facing depression, and that's why I felt the need to kind of explain those symptoms of it because some people are fighting depression, and they just think that they're fighting a bad day.
Yep.
They just think that they're fighting a bad day, and it's like, man, I've just had a bad slew of days, and I am also the most proud person that I know. I do not subscribe to medicine if I don't need it. Like I would literally have to need it. Like
Hmm.
you talking to somebody, and this is me telling on myself. I do not condone this way of thinking. I'm just telling you my flaws, guys. I will only go to the doctor or the hospital if absolutely necessary. Like I'm talking about if okay, the leg is it falling off? Is the leg falling off, or is it just hurting? Because if it's just hurting, we gonna sit our butt on this couch. But if it's falling off, okay,
You're
now
gonna try to put together first, and then
that's where we gonna go.
I don't mean to be the stereotype police, but black men
Yes,
go to the doctor.
it's
Stop
true.
being scared of what they might say, and be excited. Be like, I told y'all I was healthy. Go get
Yeah.
that physical annually
Mm-hmm.
and a mental health evaluation.
Yes, and don't and not to be scared of it because it's worth it's worth your functionality in life. Like that's your
Yeah.
functionality in life. And once again, this is not me telling you because I got it all figured out. This is me having issues and telling you from failing in those issues. And
Yeah.
uh, the end
I
of those
mean,
96 hours, I'll just sum it up the 96 hours in this. The end of those 96 hours, I finally got to the point where um I was I don't know if this is the right word to say it. I was scared to be alone
hmm
out of fear of where my thoughts would go. Um and so I called up my friend. This had to be 11 o'clock at night, 11 p.m. of going on, day 4 type thing, or about to go on day 5. 11 o'clock at night, I called up my friend. I was like, listen, I got to do something. Like, I don't trust myself to drive.
hmm
So could you take me to the urgent care? Like, I do not trust myself to be coherent enough to drive. Um, because of what's going on. And so it took a lot for me to get to that point. A, because I didn't that that involves letting somebody
admitting.
know where you at. Yeah. And I asked him, I was like, hey, like I know this sounds weird. I know it's late, but I feel like if I need to reach out to you and I need to ask this and like I need to do this. And so he was very much so I'm still grateful for him to this day for sure. He was very willing to do it. He came over, we went to the urgent care. Um I was there for maybe about 4, 5, 6 hours.
Mm,
And it was only because they gave me some medication to calm
calm
me down
down.
and make me
Mhm.
like, no, they were like, hey,
You
right
got to
now,
rest.
you go to sleep now.
Yeah.
Don't, don't wait to get home to take. No, we're going to give you this right now. Go to sleep. You need it. You
Yeah.
need it. Um, and so that's kind of how my road to recovery started. But
hmm
yeah, I didn't want to cut you off. I just wanted to end
No,
in that.
I didn't want to jump in. Appreciate the transparency and all that. And it does help to have somebody to call once you finally get to the point where you're like, clearly I'm not managing anything.
Yeah.
Um, but I wanted to read a definition. This is a words are important, and the word depressed had a meaning before mental health, was acknowledged in culture.
Right.
So the actual word of depress, it means to press down. It means to sink in a lower position. Um, it also means to decrease in value.
Hmm.
And I think it's important to know like where the word came from and that meaning because of all the symptoms that you read off. If you think about it, they're all opposite of what we need to live. They all go
Yeah.
against the basic things that make life, like
Yeah.
resting, eating, finding joy in things,
Right.
being with people. Even if you're not an extrovert, even introverts, we need people. Like
Right.
God built us to need some relationship with people. So all of the
Yeah.
things that you listed oppose what we need to live. and
Yeah.
that's socially, mentally, and physically. And that's why I think it's important that we have the conversation, because there are a lot of people um, in the world and people that we know, circles we're in, communities we're in, churches that we're in, that believe depression is a decision that people make. Um,
Yeah.
and they think that they simplify it to mean, oh, you were just sad, or you just had a bad day, or they ain't no big deal, don't worry about it. And they have good intentions, because I think that people say things like that and they simplify it, because then it makes them not have to acknowledge it. And if I acknowledge that it's real, then I have to do something about it. But if I
Right.
just minimize it to it was okay, you just going through something right now. Yes, I am, and it's called depression.
Yeah.
And also, people have to understand, usually when you confess to someone that you're dealing with it, you're not looking for them to help you cure it. You have to just get it out. You have
Yeah.
to, once you acknowledge it, it's like, okay, this is real and this is serious, and I can't do this by myself. Because if I
Yeah.
could, I would have.
Yes.
And nobody would have ever known.
Yeah.
If there was something at CVS I could just go buy, please,
It'll be done.
I'll DoorDash that thing. Yeah, it would have been done. But obviously, if it's affecting me socially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, that's too much for me to handle. I'm not
Right.
doing any of the things in my life that feed those areas. If I'm not sleeping for 96 hours, to use your example, that is not healthy.
Yeah.
I should not be alive. I should not even be conscious enough to form a sentence.
Yeah.
That's how real it is. And also, it looks different for everybody. So just like the analogy of, if I caught a cold and you were near me and you got the cold the next day, it might affect you differently. My depression looked different. I didn't sleep well because I was just afraid to fall asleep, because I was like, I hope I wake up. But I stayed in the bed for a long time. I too did not have an appetite. Mine affected me physically first. And then I started to realize, like, this doesn't make sense. Like, I was losing weight while eating first. Like, I wasn't skipping meals. I was losing weight. I was losing hair. My skin was not good. Terrible, terrible responses on my skin. I was very short with people. I did not have energy. Obviously, I was like malnourished. I also thank God that I had a 16-month-old at the time, because without him, I would have just let myself wither away. But just his presence didn't let me,
Yeah.
because they gonna be on. They don't care if you sick. They don't care if your leg falling off. I need you, mommy.
Yeah.
I'm hungry. Let's go. Let's go to the park. Let's go do this. Let's eat. Let's watch this. Let's play this. All of those things. So I thank God he was really the reason that I had to get up, because I went for my annual physical, and that's what my regular primary care doctor was like, I'm going to refer you to one of my counselor friends, because I think you're on the verge of depression here. So I had to acknowledge it, because a professional told me this is what it is. Because I was going to be like, no, I'm good. I'm going to church. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Doing all the things just to get by. Doing all the stuff the right stuff, right?
Yeah.
Doing all the stuff that's supposed to work. Fix me, fix me, fix me. And he was like, I think you need to go see my friend. She's a therapist. I'm going to send you her name. I'm going to send you over there, and I need you to schedule an appointment, and don't worry about insurance. It's covered. All you got to do is pay a copay. And I was like, dang, I can't deny it now.
Yeah.
It's in my permanent record.
Yeah.
That permanent record. It's in my record. So now it's there. And I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
But they diagnosed mine as, well, I was diagnosed officially with adjustment disorder, which I mentioned on the previous episode. And it was a lot of changes happening in my life at that point, all at once. Not to mention everybody's opinion about everything that was happening in my life all at
Yeah.
once. And when it's from people that you value, it stings a little more.
Yeah.
And then you like just become like, you ever see those movie scenes where the world is going fast around them, but they're just like still? That's what
Yeah.
it felt like. Like
Yeah.
everybody throwing jabs. They don't think they are. I'm just sitting there taking it like, and they don't know that they're throwing jabs. They don't know that they're pushing me further. They're depressing more.
Yeah.
They think they're, come on, girl, what's wrong with you? Let's go.
Exactly.
I'm
A
like,
pep talk. Like, come on, man. Yeah.
I heard it all. I was the one. I was the pep talker. You
Yeah.
think I don't know what to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then don't let you be a former athlete. He supposed to bother you. You're supposed to be unflappable. You're supposed to be unmoved, unfazed, unbothered. Don't happen like that. That's probably what delays the acknowledgement. If you come from a background of competitive stuff, you're like, oh, I'm good.
Bounce back. Oh.
No bounce. That ball was flat.
Exactly. And it's so hard because I think a couple things happen, right? And I would say the same for you based off the story you just gave. You don't necessarily know what's happening in the time that it's happening.
Absolutely.
And so that's why it's essential to educate ourselves as to what these things are. So if you, the viewer, have never experienced it, that's fine. But keep yourself educated to know what this looks like for yourself, for your friends, and for your family members. And B, it's like there is things that I think that depression reveals in terms of even our natural weaknesses, if you will. So for example, like I was already a proud person. Now I did not want you to see me struggle. And even when so there was a point where I told you in my story where I didn't want to acknowledge it. And the fact that people seen it in me and kept trying to like, hey, do you need anything? Like, no, I'm fine. Like me telling you yes means that I have to acknowledge what's going on is real. Instead of me in this fantasy world in my mind saying, no, this will pass. This too shall pass. And you can really, really fake the funk. And I would say in your case, in my case, the worst thing that we could have done, and we did do in some sort, is suffer quietly. When you suffer quietly, you're not inviting people in to help aid that situation. You're not inviting people in to help. Of course, it is. Like I remember feeling so embarrassed because like I went to the urgent care. He gave me something and I went to sleep. And then I was referred to a doctor, kind of like you. So not only did I have to tell the first human being that took me to the urgent care, then I had to tell the second human being that was in urgent care. Then I had to tell the third human being who I was like at the doctor's office with. And I was like, this went from nobody knowing to like the whole world like knows what's going on right now.
That's pretty much how God will do it. That's pretty much how he'll do it. You can't get healing from anything unless there's first confession.
And that's real. That's real.
You can say like, stuff don't hurt, then what's the point of you coming? I mean, you must enjoy your situation. I hate to put it like that, but like it has to start with confessing that there's a problem. Just like with the
to stay in it.
Right. Just like with the 12-step program for substance abuse or any addiction. What's the first step? Admitting you have a problem.
That's so funny that you made that comparison because I had to read a book that was for a 12-step program for my depression. It's called Just for Today. Now, every single morning I woke up, and this is what got me through my depression, y'all. It was called Just for Today. And Just for Today would say, just for today, I'm going to focus on these things. Just for today, I'm going to, so it kind of gave each day a goal.
Yeah.
And helping me out of my process, I was reading that book. I was like, okay, I can't think about a lot of things. I'm just going to, just for today, I'm focusing here. This is where I'm focusing on. Let's just conquer this just for today. And so I think it's crazy that you made that comparison because it's almost like I once heard it was not a sermon, it was a seminar, and they say the average brain can have over 10,000 thoughts a day, something crazy, 30,000 thoughts. I think it was something like that. And 3,000 to 5,000, 3 to 5,000 thoughts are recycled from the day before.
Mm,
So when we talk about degenerative spirals, if you
yes.
let that depressive type mindset or you're struggling in depression, like understand that it's all not just a mood thing. It can be a physical thing where your brain is
Absolutely.
literally recycling the thoughts from the day before, and it keeps going and going and going and going. And
Yep.
just think about this. Even on, let's say on Monday, I'm just in my depression and everything else. I just think it's a day thing. Like, oh, it'll be better tomorrow. I go through my day like normal. I don't address it. On Tuesday, I'm almost physically guaranteed to have 3,000 to 5,000 of those same thoughts that I did the day previously
Yeah.
that I did not address going to the next day. Still don't
Yeah.
address it. Like, imagine how many days that can keep going.
Yeah. And that's why people say it feels like you're spiraling out of control because it's literally it depresses you. It's like a weight that keeps going lower and lower and lower, and you feel
Mhm.
like. And when you mentioned how it could lead to self harm or suicidal thoughts, a lot of it has to do with sometimes people think they're never going to get out of the cycle. They're never going to get out of the hole. They've been depressed and pushed down
Right.
too deep to get out of. And
Right.
sometimes they think that the only relief is just ending it all.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to get help because that's not true.
Yeah.
So hopefully this conversation is giving that we're examples of you can win. You can win the day. You have to get help. I'm not saying you go on Facebook and post, you know, I'm depressed, send help. I mean, unless it
Hmm.
gets to that point, but you got to find the right people. I would strongly advise professional first and let them
Yes.
advise you, you know, on how to handle your specific symptoms or what you need based on your what your community looks like, based on what your lifestyle looks like. They're trained to do that. And I know that there can be fear of the medical community, but you can find more options than just somebody that's going to prescribe you medication. You can find holistic doctors, you can find support groups. Um, you have options, but I just don't lose hope is
Yeah.
my main point because it can turn around. And there are some people that are going to be shocked to know that Ren and myself were that deep in a hole. And
Yeah.
it doesn't turn around in like 2 weeks. It gets
Yes.
better.
Gets better. Yeah.
But when you feel like you've conquered something and are able to talk about it freely, it might take a minute, but it's worth it. It's worth the work. It's worth the time. It's worth the few human beings that know what you're dealing with because they will understand um, the day to day. They'll
Yeah.
be available to you when you need to just vent
Hmm.
and not try to throw scriptures on you and try to tell you it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. When you like, shut up. That's what you really want to
Hmm.
say because it don't
Yeah.
feel all right. Because I don't want
Yeah.
to go to work tomorrow. Because I don't want to tell them why I don't want to go to work tomorrow, and I don't want to
Exactly.
explain why I feel the way I do. And there goes that spiral again,
Yeah.
and that pride again. Like I don't want to tell nobody I got this going on,
Yeah.
but it's worth it. And I remember when I started going to counseling once a week after that, my doctor told me. And I had to tell my boss, like, hey, you know, I'm gonna be leaving here every, I don't know, Wednesday from this time to this time because my doctor told me I need to go see a counselor. So I'm just letting you know what's going on. And I didn't have to go into more detail than that. They respected that. And I had to do what I had to do.
Yeah.
And then it became the highlight of my week.
Right.
At first I was like, I don't want to go in there. They're gonna be making me cry every day. Then I don't want to have to like go relive all this stuff that happened and all this. And they
Yeah.
probably ain't gonna believe me because I'm gonna make it seem like I'm innocent. I went through all the scenarios in my mind, but it's not like that. They're trained
Yeah.
professionals. They already know. They've heard it before in a similar way. Um, so sometimes that pride is like for no reason because
Right.
ain't nobody even thinking about it like the way you are.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So I had to, during my journey of just all of this, I had to do a what we call, not had to, I got to do a mental health journal.
Mm.
So this mental health journal consisted of a couple things. It consisted of contacts, emergency contacts. So I would literally write questions. If I was physically ill, like hurt or whatever, like physically, who would be my contacts? Wrote a list. If I needed to reach out to somebody to vent, to talk me through certain things, who would I contact? It was a list of people. Um, if I needed to, and even stuff where like I couldn't turn off the future thinking because I'm like, oh, if I go to a mental health hospital,
Mm-hmm.
like who's going to take care of my dog for 2 weeks? Who's going to do such and such like that? And so, literally, in my mental health journal, it had such and such will take care of the dog, such and such will do this, such like it literally mapped out an entire plan for me to feel free to step away and get the help that I needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I also documented. Now, let's talk about let's kind of this is a segue into medication.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you and I'll admit to you that I was on medication at that point in time. Am I still on medication? No, I am not. The by the grace of God, I was able to heal from those wounds. I was able to get out of that season. But for that season, I very much so was. I believe I very much so needed. But medication in general, um, and I'm telling you from personal experience, I'm not telling you from a theory or some type of political stance. Medication in general was a aid for me to get through that season,
Mm-hmm.
but it was only helping the symptoms. I had to deal with the heart of it in therapy.
Absolutely.
I had to
Absolutely.
deal with the heart of it way more than I ever took those medication. And so I took the medication in pursuit of going to therapy 2 to 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's intense to me. Like
Yeah.
for somebody who don't want to go 1 time a week, 2 to 3 times is
Yeah.
whoa. I felt like I was living in this place. Um, so doing therapy 2 to 3 times a week, and I finally got to the point where I was very open with my therapist, and I was like, hey, yes. And he knew what medication I was on and everything. It was actually a point of celebration where
Yeah.
he was like, hey, I think it's time that you can get off of it. And I was like, that was I'm not going to say the first glimpse of progress, but I'm like, a
Yeah.
place that I never thought that I would get out of.
There you go.
I
That's
never
it.
seen the end of the tunnel. I never seen the end of the tunnel. I never seen it. And I understood, and not I wouldn't say that I was suicidal because I necessarily didn't make a plan. I didn't think about it too much. But what I thought was I can understand suicide because I just need rest. I
That's
need to like
exactly it.
I
That's
just need
exactly it.
rest. Like I'm
I
all the
need a
time
break.
on the go.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, please, like I just need to please, like I need
Can this
something,
ever
something.
end? That's it.
Yes.
And that's why we got to not be so flippant when we say certain words. And it really
Mhm.
bothers me, especially in church, because we just say stuff because we don't understand it or we don't
Mm.
take the time to learn more about it. And so we just blurt stuff out and we don't know how many people
Yeah.
we're saying that to in our congregation that are there. And you might have
Mhm.
just, they might have been ready to make an appointment with you the next day, but now you're no
Yeah.
longer safe. So, as people that are in leadership, whether it's at a company, a church, any kind of organization, you have to be
Yeah.
careful that just because you haven't experienced it, it does not make it any less real for somebody else. People say
Right.
things like, oh, why would you commit suicide? When you get low enough, like you, I didn't make no plans and I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to die, but I definitely wasn't trying to live.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing anything to try to live.
Yeah.
So to me, I was like, if it happened, it happened because I'm tired. It's too
Right.
much. Every time I try to explain to somebody, they minimize it. So it makes me feel like I'm
Yes.
tripping. Like I ain't really
Yes.
feeling it. But I
Yes.
felt it. But in my mind, I'm like, did I just make that up? Because I could have sworn that situation just happened. but you gaslight me to make it feel like, oh, you overreacting.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear that 10 times, you tired of talking about it.
Right.
Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe it's me. I'm the problem. It
Right.
was my fault the whole time. Okay, I'll take it.
Right.
And then you spiral even more. I deserve to feel bad.
Yeah.
I deserve these licks.
Yeah.
So we got to be careful when we just say stuff. And the reason I say the church is because, and it's not every church, and I say the
Right.
church, and I'm talking about the body of Christ as a
The
whole.
body. Yeah.
We got to be careful when we don't understand stuff. Don't minimize it.
Don't minimize it. Yeah.
Don't minimize it just because you don't know it,
All right.
just because you never felt it. Have some empathy or just go educate yourself
Yeah.
because it's
And
happening more than you think, but people never told you because of how you talk.
exactly. And so you're finding today in today's day, just like we mentioned in the episode previously, is that depression and anxiety is becoming way more prevalent, and it's because the pressures that we put on the society. I understand that um, there is a portion from preteen, dare I say, adolescence,
Mm-hmm.
that puts pressure on you to perform a certain way, that
Yeah.
puts pressure on you to be a certain person, that puts pressure on you to look, think, act, feel, walk, talk a specific way. And we can let these things just pry into our mind. And that's one of the things that's aiding our mental issues, our mental health issues, is because um, our lives may not look like what we have locked into keeping up with the Joneses, right?
Right.
I'm in my 30s. I don't have a house with a white picket fence.
Yeah.
I'm not getting paid six figures. I'm not all these things that's happening, and I feel the pressure. Or what about those? And I'm just speaking from multiple different areas. What about those people who are young or are eclipsing the end of their 20s and they're not married yet?
Mm-hmm.
What about those people who keep working, keep working, keep working for that promotion, and it's just not coming because they're putting all their eggs in that work basket? What about people who call themselves believers, who are believers in Christ, and they're trying and trying and trying and trying and trying, but they feel forsaken or left out or outcast or whatever? Like, what about those things? Like, all of these things can play into um, can come into play when we talk about the effects that it has on mental health.
Yep.
What about people who really struggle with, and I know a lot of people like this, really type A personalities that really struggle with surrendering control. And
Yep.
then you get to the point where there's no control in my life. Like, I've always had some type of control. I've always had something. I've always had a way to dictate or create or have this control or power over
Figure
this
it out.
atmosphere. And right now in my life, I have zero.
Yep.
What about those people? And
That.
so
Yeah. That's a big one.
it's in every facet of life, and it makes me not surprised when I hear that anxiety, depression is more prevalent now than it has ever been. Um, but here's the thing. And I said this in the last episode too, but I need to reiterate this because it's probably been some time since you guys have heard the last episode. But um, not only is anxiety and depression high, but even the medicated population in that realm is high as well. And so what that tells us is that medication is not curing
Nope.
the illness.
Exactly.
That is what it's teaching us. It is not curing the illness. And so I call it putting a band-aid on a gunshot wound.
Yeah.
It's not going to heal it, guys. But going to an actual therapist and pursue therapy, I'll say it again, pursue therapy, go to therapy, go to therapy, go to therapy. Because if you just continue to rely on the medication, if that's what you're doing, then you're just aiding the symptom. You're not getting to the
Absolutely.
heart of the issue.
Absolutely. It's just like if you're diabetic and you have these medications you have to take daily. The goal of it is to change your lifestyle so you can wean off the medication. The
Right.
goal is not to be medicated for life. It's the same thing. You mentioned that you when you first started the journey, you were on medication, but that was to help you calmed down to the point to receive mental health
Yes.
therapy. Like it was to like calm your physical symptoms, your physical
Mm-hmm.
brain, not your mind, but the physical gray matter. It was to help
Mm-hmm.
you process better because you had not been sleeping 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
There's really nothing that was going to stick if
Right.
you continued on that path. If you were able to continue by
Right.
choice,
By choice. Yeah.
yeah, because it could have been a different situation. They could have strapped you in somewhere, like really, so you wouldn't
Yeah.
be a danger to yourself or somebody else. Like you said, you didn't know if you could operate a car. That's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the fact that you knew that, like God was like, call somebody, like because
Exactly.
it's time. But yeah, medication is not, even if I have a cold, if I have a headache, I should not have a headache more than a day if I took some Tylenol. It's just to manage the headache. What I really need to do is
Mm.
go to bed. What I really need to do is get some rest.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that you pointed that out. I did want to, I don't know if we can segue here, but
Go
let's
ahead.
say that we've taken the steps. We talked to our doctor, we talked to our counselor. We have a real tight circle of people that know what we're working on and are supporting and holding us accountable. Let's say now we're off the medication. Instead of going to counseling 2 3 times a week, let's say we're down to every other week, and then we even get to like once a month. So
Right.
now we're in management mode. Now what do we do? Because I am a
Mm.
little afraid that I'm good now, but I can still sometimes be like, when things come up, when I'm starting to feel a certain kind of way that feels familiar, I don't want to go that deep again. So
Yeah.
I know my triggers. So now, what are some practical things that you do that kind of keep you stable?
Right.
So
And
when circumstances come up, you don't go back that far deep.
right. And so also a part of as I mentioned earlier, I do have my mental health journal. Also, I have what we call a check-in portion.
Okay.
Um, I think for me, and one of my issues is that I can get lost in the hustle and bustle of life, which probably aided to where I got to. But I can get lost in the hustle bustle in life and the to do list that I refuse, or I don't have time, or I don't prioritize time to check in.
Hmm.
And so one of my things now is that every single week, um, and I kid you not, guys, like I'm not joking when I say this, I'm literally telling you. If you look at my calendar, on every single day, there it is full. It is full. Like it's full with so many things. And so what I had to do with that is that I had to protect, and it can be a different night a week. I had to protect a specific night a week, saying, call it date night, if you will, but it's with me.
Hmm.
It's with me. I'm not like, and so it is as important to me as anything else. I try to be a man of my word, and something that I realized that I had to start doing, and this whole situation happened, and inspired me to do this. But I have to have a date night with myself once a week. I don't know what that looks like. It could look like going for a walk. It could look like journaling. It could look like being a Devo, but I have to. I call it going dark.
Hmm.
The phone's off. I'm checking in, I'm journaling, I'm doing something that is rejuvenating to me. Whether it's a Devo, whether it's a book, whether it's um, I know, just vegging, you know what I mean? Like it's a way to say, okay, this week is happening, this season is happening. How can I take some time for myself to do what's good for me? Now,
Yeah.
it doesn't always look like being alone.
Hmm.
It could be having a conversation. It could be I don't go to therapy weekly anymore, but something that I do have is I have a mentor in my life. And it's hard for me to be vulnerable.
Hmm.
So on maybe that night, I'm saying, hey, talking to my mentor and say, hey, like, can we get together and I just want to run some things past you. And that's not necessarily something that's dire need, but it's a time for me to focus on and practice to be vulnerable. Like this is where I am. I'm no longer will I do the facade thing like that.
Yeah.
Like I was literally and this you can call this dramatic or whatever, but at the end of that 96 hours, um, I would say that I had to make a choice that if I did not make that choice, you would not see me here today because it would have
Mm.
just got worse and worse and worse. And so, because of that, I need to learn how to be more vulnerable. There's things that are even physically rejuvenating. Now, listen to me. When people talk about rest days, when people talk about weekends, when people talk about all this other stuff, there's a difference between doing nothing and rest.
Absolutely.
There's a difference. Listen, run that back.
Absolutely.
There's a difference between doing nothing and rest. Now, doing nothing, that could subscribe to you being at your house, staying at home and watching, binge watching your favorite Netflix show, or going out to a water park, or doing stuff that sounds fun. It's amazing. And I'm not worried about that. But at the end of that day, so let's say you take a Saturday and you do all of that stuff. At the end of that day, I'm gonna ask you the question: was that restful? Do you feel rejuvenated? Do you feel more at ease, relaxed coming out of that day than you did going into that day?
Hmm.
And a lot of times the answer is no. Like, people will go on vacation and not vacation.
Bruh. That's another episode. I don't like, yeah.
So you
Be
were
tired.
physically away. You were physically away, but you weren't away.
No.
You came back more tired than when you left.
Absolutely.
And so what that has to do with is that we have to start acknowledging. I have to start. I mean, this is, once again, this is not a final product. This is me in this now. I
Hmm.
have to start acknowledging the things that are restful, and then those are the things that I have to keep putting in. Restful is recharging.
Yeah.
Doing nothing is just wasting time, or just
Yeah.
filling time. It's filling time with something that you like to do, and that's fine, guys. Like, I'm not speaking against watching your favorite Netflix show. I'm not speaking against that. But if you're telling me that you did that, okay, you did that, and then afterwards I'm asking you that question: do you feel more recharged now than you did entering this day? And you say no,
Yeah.
then you answered the question for me.
Yeah.
So being so finding rest. And so the Bible talks about, and I love to bring it back to the Bible because, like, these are the ways that I make verses practical.
Hmm.
To me, a verse is just words on a page. If you are not putting this into your life, your heart, your lifestyle, and making it practical to you. Bible says, "Come to me, all ye weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest."
Yep.
That does not mean just being physically in the presence of Bible teaching. I can't tell you that, and I work in the church.
Hmm.
I can't tell you that every single time I went to listen to somebody preach, it can be a great fire sermon. But am I restful? Do I feel recharged after that? Not every time, no. No, I'm gonna be honest, no. I love worship. I love worship music. I love singing it. I love being around it. I love just hearing it. I love just sitting in the presence of it. But every single time I hear worship music, am I just automatically recharged?
Nah.
No.
Because that ain't what the
And
scripture said.
that's not what it says. That's not what it says. So let's get away from this sticker. Let's get away from this sticker quote and understand that, for me, it needed to look like me totally shutting things off in order to rest in his presence.
Yeah. It said, come to me. That was Jesus, not your pastor.
Come to me. And the fact that, and something that's beautiful about just the pursuit of Christ, and to me, is that it can be so simple if you let it be.
Yeah.
I had one of my most restful days. Oh my goodness. And it almost sounds stupid because it's like, dude, how couldn't you get this? One of my most restful days was taking my hammock. And keep in mind, I
Hmm.
wasn't raised to hammock. I wasn't, I'll be honest, like, I wasn't raised to do these things. These are not things that were woven into my childhood, hammocks and all that stuff. Didn't happen one time in my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Taking my hammock in my 20s, putting it in a park, reading a couple scriptures, being in the sunshine, just resting, not looking at my phone, not worrying about where I need to be, not worrying about what time it is, just being there
Yeah.
and spending time with my savior in nature and just relaxing in my hammock.
That's it.
Listen, I came away from that day, DD, feeling amazing.
Yeah.
And it's so simple. Like,
It is simple. Yeah.
it's so simple.
Rest is on the top of my list because for me, I'm a busy person too. I don't know how you couldn't be in 2023.
Yeah.
But I have a day that I don't do anything. I barely answer the phone. It's not my phone's not off, but I'll watch my phone ring, and a lot of people close to me already know. I will look at that phone ring and be like, I won't answer a text. I won't check nothing. And that day is Sunday for me. That's the only
Good.
day where I don't. And I'm gonna be honest. I barely want to go to church, and I work for the church. But that's like work. It can be
Yeah.
work.
Yes.
To care for
Yeah.
the people is a job. But after that, once I figure out what I'm gonna eat, I don't do nothing. I don't do nothing. I barely go to lunch with people at a restaurant. It takes a lot. And I'm just going to be real because I need to recharge because people draw from me a lot. And it's my choice how I refuel.
Yeah.
I can't hold them accountable for how I refuel. That's something that I have to do intentionally or I'll keep going.
Here's my question in the midst of that.
Yes.
How do you protect that?
Like I just said, I don't have to answer my phone if I don't want to because guess what? It's my phone.
Yeah.
My son, I have boundaries with my son is the love of my life. But let me talk to the parents real quick.
Hey.
Because we feel like we owe our lives to our children. And that is in fact the opposite. Our children are not ours, first of all. Once I learned that boy belongs to God, I'm just here to manage.
Yeah.
I don't own him. I set boundaries for him when he was like 3 years old. He knows not to just bust in my room. He knows that when my door is closed, I'm either resting, praying, something. And on Sundays, he knows he's like, all right, I'll see you later, Mom. It's just like that. Cause I know myself well enough to know that if I'm tired, you won't get the best of me.
Yeah.
I might say something wrong. I just have to get that rest. So I protect it. I set up boundaries and I don't have to go announce my boundaries. That's another thing we got to learn. I don't have to broadcast what those are. I just let you know once you get close. Or I just don't respond.
Yeah.
Because that's not resting. It takes energy for me to respond and explain my boundaries.
Yeah.
And that's energy I'm not giving away for free.
That's good. And I feel you on that because I don't let people ask me what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, and this is crazy, guys. So I don't let people ask me what I'm doing. So for example, they be like, "Oh, you free Friday night?" No, I got plans. And then so for those people who are close to me, and I understand that they love me and they want to spend time with me, they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm not telling you that." And so what they would see is secretive. I'm like, no, I have a date night plan with me, but I'm not going to offer that information to you for you to think that your obligation is more important than my obligation, even though I'm at home not doing anything.
There you go.
But I made a priority and a commitment to myself, I guess, if you will,
Yeah.
to do this. I'm not going to be talked out of that for any type of fun.
Yeah. And you're not going to put your stuff on me. You can't do that. It's not allowed anymore.
I'm not doing that.
And that might be how you rejuvenate, but not me.
Respect. And that's
I love basketball. You might invite me to a game and I'll still say no.
Yes. Yes. And that's viewers, that is the type of protecting and priority that you need to take in your mental health, because sometimes things are fun. I have declined going to things that I wish that I had the time to go, but
Hmm.
I don't. But I don't, because I need this, and this needs to happen over everything. And so if I
Yeah.
made a commitment at the beginning of that week that Friday night was going to be that night, I'm not going to reschedule, because then that night will leave me and a month goes past and I have not done it.
Yeah. And I'll say
So,
this real quick, just to make sure people know. When I say rest, it doesn't mean I'm taking a nap. Sometimes a nap is included in my personal Sabbath, but sometimes I enjoy cooking. Sometimes I like to cook, and
mhm,
I even kick my son out the kitchen. Move.
mhm,
I need to do this.
yeah,
Sometimes it's cleaning. I know that sounds
mhm,
crazy, but that's the only time. Ain't nobody gonna bother me when I'm cleaning.
yeah,
They're like,
that's good.
oh, I'll
That's
let you do
good.
you. Please do. It used to be yard work. I used to go do my yard, do some little fun stuff. Nobody would bother me.
Right.
But just that solitude where I can think and I can hear myself think, I literally can't hold the phone. I can't hold a remote control.
Right.
My hands are busy, but it's restful for me to not have to
Yeah.
answer questions and not have to explain my thoughts. I need that time.
Right.
And a couple small things that I do for me, it's making sure my space looks the way I want it to look.
That's good.
So for me, a cluttered space clutters my mind because it always looks like something's undone. And it
Yeah.
just, that goes back to that always being busy. So
Yeah.
I have to keep my space how I want it to look. And I'm not just talking about clean, even the colors. This might sound crazy, but it works. If things are too bright, that's not restful for me. That's not peaceful.
Okay.
So in my space is very neutral, very earth tone, very chill, as you can see, and natural light. If I ever live in a place that I would never, I'll put it like this, I would never ever buy a home or move anywhere that didn't have a lot of windows.
That's
Because
good.
that natural light does something for me. Because I'm an outdoor kind of person. And if I don't have nothing to do, I'm gonna sit and look outside. I'm a like like dogs be looking like, please let me out, let me out.
Mhm.
It's almost like I need to feel outsideness every single day. Even
That's
if
good.
it's a thunderstorm, it might be a hurricane. I gotta just feel outside. Even on a hot day, I'll turn the AC on, but I'll have a window down as long as I
Yeah.
can because I need to feel that. I
I
need to
need to
feel
feel it.
nature.
That's
Those
good.
are simple things I do. And lastly, but mostly overlooked, I have to make sure that I always have a way of exit.
Hmm.
Meaning, if I'm ever out somewhere or with some people at an event, at the mall, I always got to be able to leave when I want to leave. For me, that might be a small to somebody else, but for me, that's huge. I don't like feeling like I have to stay somewhere when I'm done.
Yeah.
So if I'm at somebody's house, I'm not going to park in your driveway because I got to be able to go when I want to go. If I'm going with some people, I drive
Mm-hmm.
because once I get to the point where it's too much, I love y'all. Y'all wore me out. But for my sake and yours, I'll see you next time.
Yeah.
I'm out. So I always got to have a way of exit for my mental health. I don't ever want to feel trapped anywhere because that's a
That's good.
trigger,
That's
and I
good.
know that. Yeah.
That's good. So that's some practical ways. Thank you for that, Didi. I kind of wanted to end on this. I know we went a little bit, but listen, and I need you guys to get this. If you are experiencing some type of suicidal thoughts, ideology, please don't stay by yourself.
Yeah.
Please reach out. Please get help. The best way that I know to help is the number 988. You can dial that
Yes.
into any cell phone device. That's a suicide crisis hotline. They have a hotline. Sorry, they have
Hmm.
professionals to be with you in that time, to talk you in that time. But please reach out. Please do not suffer in silence. Please. We'll tag that at the end of this video. And I just want you to know that we
Yeah.
care for you. We love you. And just know that you have people rooting for you. Just give them the chance to be a part of your season.
Yes. And if you have any questions about anything we shared, if you need clarification, if you want a lengthier list of things that you could do, to help yourself before you get to the crisis point, please send us an email. Please, please, please. We're not going to tell your business. We're not going to post it online. This is a safe place. We both have been there, so we already know what it's like.
Yeah.
Please, please, please reach out. And again, the email is setapartpodcastteam@gmail.com. And we check it every day, so you won't have to wait long for a response. If it's something out of our span of control, we'll find a resource for you. But please, please, please don't ever hesitate. If you need somebody to talk to, if you want a pen pal, whatever it is, please reach out. Setapartpodcastteam@gmail.com.
Peace out, guys.